Politics is more than just the stuff you see on TV. Behind the speeches, debates, and headlines, there's a lot going on that most people don't know about. Did you know that in the 2020 US elections, over $14 billion was spent? That's more than the combined budgets of 20 countries. And it's not just the money, it's the deals and secrets hidden behind closed doors. Ever wondered who's really pulling the strings? Or how social media shapes what we think we know about politics? What if I told you that misinformation spreads 6 times faster than truth, especially during elections? Or that one single meme could change the course of a political movement? This is the world we're stepping into. From money that fuels campaigns to the dangerous spread of fake news, the game of politics is shifting in ways that can blow your mind. In this series, we'll uncover the hidden agendas, the rise of populism, and how social media is turning politics into a digital battleground. Stick with me, and you'll see how the rules of the game are being rewritten. Trust me, you won't look at politics the same way again. Chapter 1: The Hidden Agenda. Behind closed doors in politics. Politics is full of secrets. Behind every major policy decision, there are backroom deals and conversations that never see the light of day. According to political analyst Robert Caro, power doesn't just corrupt, it hides. And it's often hidden in plain sight. Take the 2010 Citizens United ruling. This Supreme Court decision allowed unlimited political spending by corporations, altering the landscape of American elections. While it's legal, many argue it undermines democracy by giving corporations an outsized influence. In Washington, closed-door meetings are where the real decisions are made. These discussions often include lobbyists, who spend millions trying to sway politicians. In 2020, lobbyists spent more than $3.5 billion in Washington alone. That's a staggering amount, especially when you consider that public trust in politics is at an all-time low. Politicians say they're representing their constituents, but many of them are actually working to please the corporate interests that fund their campaigns. Remember the revolving door phenomenon? It's when politicians leave office and go to work for lobbying firms or corporations they once regulated. A 2018 study found that more than half of former US senators joined lobbying firms within 2 years of leaving office. This creates a system where the lines between public service and corporate interest are incredibly blurred. There's also the dark money problem. This refers to political spending by non-profit organizations that don't have to disclose their donors. In 2020, over $1 billion was spent through these groups, making it nearly impossible to trace who is really funding certain political campaigns. When you add these hidden agendas together, it's no wonder that many voters feel disconnected from the political process. Chapter 2: Rewriting the Rules. How social media is changing politics. Social media has turned the traditional political playbook upside down. In 2008, Barack Obama's campaign showed the world how digital media could connect voters and mobilize grassroots movements. Today, every political candidate needs a strong social media presence to win elections. A 2020 study found that 53% of voters reported that social media was one of their top sources of information during elections. Politicians use platforms like Twitter and Facebook to speak directly to their audience, bypassing traditional media. But social media's impact goes beyond communication. The 2016 US presidential election showed how Russia used Facebook to spread disinformation, reaching millions of Americans with fake news. This raised important questions about the integrity of elections in the digital age. Memes are a powerful political tool, too. A meme can shape public opinion faster than a full-length article ever could. Take the viral Bernie Sanders mittens meme from the 2021 inauguration. What started as a quirky photo of Bernie Sanders turned into a global cultural moment that political pundits still reference today. In some countries, social media is more than just a tool, it's a battleground. In India, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's party relies heavily on WhatsApp to push its political messages, reaching millions in rural areas who may not have access to mainstream media. In fact, research shows that WhatsApp groups were critical in Modi's 2019 election victory. Social media isn't only used by politicians, either. Activists and everyday citizens have used platforms to demand change. The #MeToo movement and the Black Lives Matter protests were both fueled by social media, showing the power of digital communication in shaping political and social landscapes. If you found this chapter fascinating, don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the power of digital politics. Chapter 3: The Power of Populism, a New Political Order. Populism is shaking up the political world. From Donald Trump in the US to Jair Bolsonaro in Brazil, populist leaders have gained traction by appealing directly to the people, often criticizing elites and the establishment. The central idea behind populism is that the common people are being betrayed by a corrupt elite, and only the populist leader can restore their power. In the US, the rise of populism was marked by Donald Trump's slogan, "Make America Great Again." In 2016, Trump 63 million won votes by speaking to people who felt ignored by traditional politics. In fact, his message resonated so deeply that one study found that 42% of voters who didn't typically vote in presidential elections cast their ballots for Trump. Populism is also on the rise in Europe. In Hungary, Prime Minister Viktor Orban has consolidated power by appealing to nationalistic and anti-immigrant sentiments. Orban's victory in 2018 was partly due to his ability to mobilize populist rhetoric and create an us versus them narrative, focusing on protecting Hungarian culture from foreign influence. But populism is not without controversy. Critics argue that populist leaders often create division and undermine democratic institutions. In Poland, the ruling Law and Justice Party has faced backlash for eroding judicial independence and restricting media freedom, all while promoting populist rhetoric. Despite the criticisms, populism is growing worldwide. A 2020 report by the International Institute for Democracy and Electoral Assistance found that populist parties won an increasing share of votes in 22 countries, signaling a shift in the global political landscape. This rise of populism has led many to ask, are we witnessing the rise of a new political order? For more on how populism is reshaping global politics, hit that subscribe button. Chapter 4: The Age of Misinformation, Fact versus Fiction in Political Discourse. Misinformation spreads faster than truth. Social media platforms are to blame for this, with false headlines, fake quotes, and distorted facts circulating at lightning speed. According to a study by MIT, false information spreads 6 times faster than true information on Twitter. This rapid spread can have real-world consequences, from influencing elections to stoking political violence. In 2020, false claims about voter fraud were shared millions of times across social media, leading to the storming of the US Capitol in January 2021. Experts agree that misinformation is one of the biggest threats to democracy today. When people can't agree on what's true, it becomes impossible to have productive political discussions. One of the most infamous examples of misinformation is the Pizzagate conspiracy theory. In 2016, fake news about a child trafficking ring operating out of a Washington, D.C. pizzeria spread like wildfire on social media. This led to an armed man showing up at the restaurant to investigate the allegations. Thankfully, no one was hurt, but it demonstrated the dangerous power of misinformation. Fact-checking organizations like Snopes and PolitiFact are working to combat this, but the battle is tough. Even when false claims are debunked, they often continue to circulate, especially in echo chambers where people only hear opinions that reinforce their beliefs. In 2018, a report by the Oxford Internet Institute found that nearly 60% of the most influential false stories on social media were politically charged. With so many people getting their news from platforms like Facebook and Twitter, political leaders are increasingly able to exploit these systems for their own gain. Chapter 5: Behind the Curtain, the Role of Money in Politics. Money plays a pivotal role in modern politics. According to the Center for Responsive Politics, in 2020, candidates and political parties spent a combined $14 billion on the presidential and congressional elections. But it's not just about direct campaign spending. Lobbying firms and super PACs spend billions more to influence policy behind the scenes. In the US, lobbying is a multi-billion-dollar industry. In 2019, $3.5 billion was spent on lobbying efforts, with the pharmaceutical and insurance industries being among the biggest spenders. This creates a system where the richest corporations can influence policy in ways that benefit their bottom line, often at the expense of ordinary citizens. Super PACs, which are political action committees that can raise unlimited amounts of money, have also changed the game. The 2010 Citizens United ruling allowed these groups to flood elections with untraceable donations. In 2020, these groups spent over $2 billion to influence the presidential race alone. Corporate donations also play a huge role in shaping political campaigns. In 2020, the top 100 donors gave over $2.6 billion to political candidates and parties. This concentration of wealth makes it hard for smaller, grassroots campaigns to compete. In countries like the UK, corporate influence is also a major concern. A 2018 report from the Electoral Reform Society found that just 10 companies donated 75% of all political party funding. This raises serious questions about who truly has power in political systems that rely on big money. Chapter 6: The Future of Democracy. Will it survive the next generation? The future of democracy is uncertain. Around the world, we're seeing rising authoritarianism, growing political polarization, and attacks on democratic institutions. According to a 2020 report by the Freedom House, global democracy has been in decline for over a decade, with fewer countries embracing democratic reforms. In the US, partisan divisions have reached new highs. A 2021 Pew Research survey found that 87% of Democrats and 84% of Republicans view the opposing party as a threat to the nation's well-being. This deep polarization makes it difficult for elected officials to work together, leading to gridlock and disillusionment with the political system. In Eastern Europe, leaders like Viktor Orban in Hungary and Jaroslaw Kaczynski in Poland have been accused of undermining democratic norms. Orban's government has restricted press freedom, judicial independence, and academic freedom, all hallmarks of an authoritarian regime. However, not all hope is lost. The rise of youth movements across the globe suggests that democracy is evolving. In countries like Thailand, Belarus, and Sudan, young people are organizing protests to demand greater political freedom. They're using social media to bypass censorship and raise awareness about human rights abuses. A 2019 study by the International Republican Institute found that over 70% of young people worldwide expressed a desire for democracy. This suggests that the next generation may be more invested in preserving democratic values than ever before. But whether democracy can survive in its current form remains to be seen. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss more insights on the future of global politics.